All right, the Podhalla side of this podcast. As I was watching Unrivaled, though I'm a little behind. I've not watched my Mist, the last two games of my Mist. Uh, Last week I mentioned how impressed I am with Paige Bueckers. So much so that I was going to ask your brother to, he understands all of the betting and stuff. I might put a few dollars, a few I don't know. I don't know how much, but on the possibility of Paige being the MVP of next season in the WNBA. Out of course you have the revenge of Nafisa Collier that's going to happen. She's going to come back with a crazy vengeance. Of course, Asia Wilson, Caitlin's going to be back. Paige would have to get that Dallas team into the playoffs and more in order to do anything there. But I'm so impressed watching her play basketball. The way she plays basketball is kind of like I would compare her and Kate. So we're going to talk about Caitlin Clark too. I would compare Paige to like CP3, and I would compare Caitlin to Steph a little bit, just because of the way that they get into their offense. But if you were to choose, both of them are young. Paige is actually is Paige a year older than Caitlin?
No, they're the same draft class. I
Same
mean,
draft class.
sorry, not draft class, but they're the same high school class.
Same high school class.
Paige stayed a year longer.
Who would you want more? Now you would take either of them because they're both great prospects and really good players already. But if you were to think about your basketball team, and maybe even for the Valkyries, like which player would you want more between Paige and Caitlin? Because I think the overall casual WNBA fan would go, of course you take Caitlin. Like she's so famous and she shoots from the logo and all that stuff. But I don't know if that's the right answer.
I kind of feel like there maybe isn't the most perfect right answer right now. I think there might be a little bit of we didn't see Caitlin at all last year, so Paige's game is more fresh on our minds. But I think Paige has more of a complete game than Caitlin. Caitlin is, not to limit as great of a player as she is, but she takes deep threes. She's a great passer. But it kind of feels like there are ways to stop her. And I've kind of felt like that since she got into the league. But honestly, no one could really stop her that well in the league. It took until me watching Veronica Burton guard her, and I was like, that's what I would be doing this whole time. Why wasn't anyone else being able to do that? And Veronica's just pretty sturdy, pretty strong center of gravity. And I feel like she was able to kind of limit Caitlin, where I haven't seen Paige. I don't think you can stop Paige Bueckers ever. I don't care who you put on her. I think she just always has the next move in her bag to go to. She just doesn't have that deep range that that Caitlin has. So I don't think there's a right answer right now, but I do agree with you that every single person who, doesn't follow the sport would go Caitlin, and they might not even be wrong. Mm-hmm. But I think since we watch it and we see Paige can score from all three levels with ease. And I don't think Caitlin has all three levels the same way that Paige does.
They had this discussion on the No Off Season podcast. This was during the season, by the way. It was almost like who had the better rookie season, Paige or Caitlin. And looking up the numbers, they both averaged 19.2 points in their rookie season. Caitlin had 8.4 assists to Paige's 5.4. Caitlin had 5.7 rebounds to Paige's 3.9. Paige shot better. Caitlin shot a little bit better from three, and Caitlin shot a little bit better from the line, but they're both excellent free throw shooters. And I guess the difference is Caitlin had Aaliyah Boston.
She had a way better team,
so she was able to take that team and get very close to the playoffs.
She made the playoffs
that first year.
Yeah, her first year.
They lost 2 out of 3 to Connecticut. That's
correct.
What it was. And then Paige's first year, they were not very good.
No. It honestly still puzzles me how they, Arike wasn't able to cook the way that Arike usually cooks with a player who could play off the ball like Paige. Caitlin had Aaliyah and Kelsey Mitchell, And Paige had Enrique, who in theory, like Enrique at the time was maybe the best player out of the three, but just Enrique couldn't put it together in a way that I thought she'd be able to, considering Paige isn't like a, a like she doesn't need to have the ball to be impactful. Whereas, if she played on if Enrique played on Caitlin's team, like Caitlin needs the ball, right? She needs to do her side steps, her shoot from deep, but also she's like Steph say, she is a threat off the ball as well because she catches the ball and she can put up a shot, so they have to stay attached to her. But yeah, it just puzzled me how Enrique wasn't able to put it together with Paige, because I felt like that style would have worked together, and it didn't, and they sucked kind of because of it, I feel like.
Now, does Dallas have the first pick in this year's draft?
They do.
Who is so if it is an Awa Fam, probably closer to a Malanga season where you see some signs, but I don't know if people are expecting Awa Fam to immediately contribute. But if you drafted an AC Foot instead, and that would make things very interesting in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you could see, like, oh my gosh, one of the best backcourts in the league already with two players like that. I do think that Paige needs a big, though. If you had the Aaliyah Boston comparison in Dallas, and you have that, you can play that pick and roll game like Caitlin and Aaliyah plays the way that they do. I think that would be awesome for her. But the idea, like, I mean, AZ Foot is just like right there. So it'll be interesting to see who they take. I guess the thing when I think about both players, and again, I'm watching a lot of Paige in this Unrivaled. I didn't watch all the Dallas games last year. I watched when she played the Valkyries, but there was this moment where Cameron Brink. By the way, did you see Cameron Brink dunk today?
Yeah.
That was cool. There's this moment in one of the games that I was watching, the Mist against Paige's team. So Cameron Brink swatted somebody, and the ball did not go out of bounds, and Cam was thinking the ball was going out of bounds. So she swats it, and she goes out of bounds, and she's just celebrating, almost to the point of standing over the person who she had blocked. I forget who she blocked. And Paige is like waiting for her to get the ball so that they can go back the other way. And Cam's celebrating and like standing over. And so then at the timeout or at the ball stop, like Paige went over there and was like, dude, great play, but you need to get the ball because that's a layup for us. We're going on the other side. And so it's almost like, she's like a mini coach out there as well. And I think she kind of organizes things and maybe holds her emotions a little bit better than Caitlin does, because you see Caitlin, and Caitlin is just so fiery on the court and, just ready to like complain to refs and stuff. And it seems like Paige's style is a little bit less about that. So if you're thinking of who you want your point guard to be, you probably want them to be a little bit more like Paige, to control the game, to be that adult handling the basketball in the room. But then you see Caitlin's fiery side, and she just bombs like 4 threes in a row, and you're up by 10. And so that, there is a nice little balance in both players. It's going to be fascinating to see next year, because I think they open up the season against each other. I think that's the first game of the season for both of their teams. And then we haven't even talked about the person who is kind of waiting for another year or two to just be drafted and wants to make this a 3-person young point guard race with Juju. That's going to be fascinating too. So I thought it was a fun thing to think about, this whole Paige versus Caitlin thing. But yeah, both of them awesome. It's good. It's going to be so great to be able to watch both of these players so young into their careers, because they're already so good.
Yep.
All right. So I had a question for you before we get out of here. You've been watching some college hoop, and I asked you to think of, if UConn does not win, and UConn looks like unstoppable right now. Like, they look like they're going to blow through everybody like they did last year. But if there is a team to beat UConn this year, what team do you think is best situated, maybe has the best personnel, maybe plays the best style to beat UConn for the championship? Is there a team out there that you see that could beat UConn?
I feel like it's got to be a team that has a reliable like inside presence with scoring, because I want to say UCLA, but I feel like when UCLA can't shoot threes, like you'll see that, they're beatable. Kind of the same with South Carolina. Like I know they have, Olivia Edwards, but if she's not like the dominant post scorer that like Camila Cardoso or Aaliyah Boston was in years past for South Carolina. And then on Texas's side, they have former Arizona Wildcat Bria Cunningham, and I'm forgetting the other woman's name on the team that comes in to back her up. But I feel like I kind of want to go with UCLA because I know they have Lauren Betts, but I don't know. We saw this UConn team kind of take care of business against that UCLA team, but UCLA has like 6 players who are going to be in the WNBA like within the next 2 years, if not this year. Like they have a lot of players who are going to get drafted. So you just think that would be the team that can match up against them. But this maybe 4-5 team after UConn being Texas, South Carolina, UCLA, LSU, and like Vanderbilt has had a really good year too. I mean, I don't think any of those teams can do it, but because they've all kind of beat each other. Like I forget who beat. We were at watching the Thanksgiving games. I forget who beat UCLA, if it was South Carolina or Texas. But then I think South Carolina has beaten Texas and vice versa. Vanderbilt beat South Carolina. Texas beat Vanderbilt or something. LSU beat Texas. Like everyone's kind of beating each other in that little like 2-5 or 2-6. But UConn's still undefeated.
Who would you what Final Four would you want to see?
I think I actually think LSU could be sneaky and kick out one of those UCLA, South Carolina, Texas teams. I think I would probably bet on them kicking out Texas. But LSU is really talented at that point guard, shooting guard, small forward position. And there's really no real small forward on that team. I feel like Michaela Williams, Flage, and Malaysia Fulwiley are all guards in my opinion. But just they're really talented. And freshman Grace Knox is awesome. So I think, yeah, I would probably go UCLA, UConn, South Carolina, LSU as my Final Four.